It was a lot. Okay, the testimony was long and drawn out as far as I'm concerned. They really, I mean, it was almost torturous. Okay, listening to the same testimony over and over. They went through a myriad of her text messages where she talked about how Diddy was just using her and all of that, as I told you all previously. So at one point, Diddy was asking her to send him some explicit videos. And she says, I got the phones. Diddy said, I got the phones, just send me what I want. Okay, he wanted her to send some explicit videos. She wasn't feeling it. By this time, she's realizing that this man doesn't care anything about her. He's just using her. Okay, so then she says that he basically told her, don't say no to me like you don't want me to say no to you. Jane said she was afraid that people could access his phones because she realized that he's recorded all of these thousands of videos with these phones of her having, you know, sex with these different men. And she was so afraid that somebody was going to find out, somebody would have access to his phones, because she said even his own staff, some of his assistants, were able to get inside his phones. So she was very concerned about that. So she says, you're not using my video. And here's the thing. When he kept asking her to send him this explicit video, well, he was already messing with other women. She already knew this by now. She'd seen the videos online, and she was upset. And she basically told him, you're not going to be using my videos to get your D hard while you're with somebody else, okay? So that's what she felt like he was going to do. And then Diddy says, I was just asking you to send me something. So she says, you literally bragged online that you could F for 48 hours. Okay, you just used me for hotel nights. Now, he promised to take her on a trip, but of course that didn't pan out because that's something he was always doing, making promises that he never kept. Okay? Then she said that he had been on this podcast and he was bragging about this trip that he'd gone on. And basically was talking about how long he can do it. Okay, now I actually saw this, interestingly enough, ironically, I actually saw that podcast like last night. I mean, I had seen it before, but for some reason I actually happened upon it again last night. Okay, there's a clip where there's him and somebody else that he was dating, and then he's saying, well, tell them how long I can go. And she was like, well, I know, but they don't know. He's like, well, tell them. If you all know what I'm talking about, okay? He was bragging about how long he can go at the end of the day. So anyway, she said he was on the podcast bragging about this trip. And this was a month before he said there was nobody else. And there was nobody else that he was dealing with, okay? So anyway, she said he kept promising to do stuff with her for her birthday or whenever, but everything always turned out to be another hotel night. Now, she spent 2 days sleeping after having a hotel night because she was so tired. They had done all of these illegal substances. She said she was trying to recover, okay, trying to recover from the hotel nights. And all he did was want more. She said, no matter what I do, nothing's ever enough for you. I do all these hotel nights. I sleep with all these different men. She said 3 and 4 men in a night. And then when the prosecutor asked her, who are these men that you're sleeping with? She said 3 of the S workers and then plus him. That's 4 men he's got her sleeping with for hours on end. Okay, then she's tired and she has to recover, and he's still wanting more. She can't catch a break. Okay, so then they go through more of the text messages. She says, I don't know what you want me to be. Okay, I don't know what you want me to be or where you want me to be. I don't want to continue. I don't want to continue. Basically, she didn't want to continue having these, you know, these rendezvous or whatever. So then she says she felt pressured to perform, to keep doing these things. And then what's interesting is he tried to flip the script on her. He was clearly gaslighting her, basically saying, you're the one that reached out to these men. You're the one who chooses the ones you want to, you know, sleep with. For example, she liked the guy Cabral and the guy named Anton. So she would call them to set things up. But this was because Diddy was requesting her to do it. Now, of course, we could say she didn't have to do it, but nonetheless, it was his idea. But he's trying to brainwash her, manipulate her into thinking, this is your idea. I didn't ask you to do these things. You wanted to do it. We were both having fun. And what's interesting is that when the whole thing came out with Cassie filing a lawsuit against him, then she's reading Cassie's lawsuit filing, and then she's telling him word for word, this is exactly what I've been telling you that you're doing to me. This is exactly how I've been feeling. And he's telling her, listen, please don't do that. We need to stick together. Now he wants to stick together. He's like, we got to stick together. These are tough times. Okay, we got to be here for each other. Please be a friend to me. You know who I am. You know me. You know, I didn't try to do anything to you. These things were your idea. We both did it together. So now he's trying to do damage control. So he calls her, and he's actually recording the phone calls because we literally heard the phone call in court. Now, as he's talking to her, he's saying things like, you know, because of course he knows it's being recorded and she doesn't at the time. She didn't know anything about it being recorded. So of course the person who knows they're recording is going to try to say things that make it favorable for them. So he's saying things like, this was your idea, you know, you wanted this, we both agreed to it, I didn't make you do anything, just trying to keep up this ruse. And so then the prosecutor asked her, did you record this conversation? Did you record anything? She's like, no. And mind you, while he's recording her, trying to do damage control, he's accusing her of recording him. He's like, wait a minute, hold up. Are you recording me?
Oh, maybe.
I just acted so crazy. Honey, Diddy is a whole hot mess, okay, at the end of the day. So anyway, then...
So did you do a Facebook Live?
And then they played another audio of Diddy where he sounded like he was hoarse, like maybe he was sick or whatever. And he's telling her, you know, you keep calling me with this stuff. Man, I can't even be on the phone like this. I can't be talking about all this. Okay, listen, I think you need to get you some rest. But we got to stick together, basically is what he's saying. We got to stick together. You need to get some rest. I need to get some rest. I'm going through a lot. I can't be on this phone. And the reason he's saying he can't be on the phone is because he's afraid that she's going to be recording him like he's recording her. Okay, that's what that's all about. So basically he's telling her, if you need anything, just call KK. Make sure you call KK and let her know what's going on, and I'll see what I can do. What can I do for you without being on the phone? Because I can be on this phone like this. This stuff's getting crazy. I got a whole lot going on. Now he's spooked. Because now that Cassie's filed a lawsuit, now he's thinking, that's that old sugar smacks, exactly. So he's basically like freaking out because Cassie's filed this lawsuit, and now she's complaining about the same things Cassie says in the lawsuit, which, mind you, she was complaining about this stuff even before Cassie's lawsuit. She was already telling him she felt used. She was already telling him she felt like he was just basically pimping her out. That's not the word she used, but she was saying that you're making me sleep with all these different men, and my body's tired, I'm spiritually devastated, I'm having this sexual trauma and all of this. See you later, beloved. All right. Thank you, you too. And so, you know, basically saying that I don't want to keep doing this, my spirit is getting weak. But, and so now when that Cassie lawsuit came out, honey, that's when he was just really thinking, okay, I got to get this woman right here in check. I've got to get her to go along with it so she feels like she's obligated to help me. I've got to convince her that this wasn't my idea, that she's the one who wanted to do this. So anyway, he just kept putting that in her head, or at least trying to. So then she said, that's not, and he was talking about he loved her all of a sudden too. Okay, she said, that's not love. All right, she says, that's not love. And then he starts telling her he's going to take her somewhere so they can be off together by themselves. So she starts suggesting places to go in New York. Now, what happened was, they said, what happened after you got off the plane? She said, I really wanted to have dinner with him, but she said she went to bed because she was so uncomfortable. Why was she uncomfortable? From having all these hotel nights, okay? Because no matter what she said, she continued going back to have these hotel nights. She's sitting there complaining, and then he would always somehow manage to get her to do what he wanted. So he gave her an ecstasy pill, okay, to get her to do what he wanted. And she says after one S worker left, then a new one came, and then Then she said that she had left some of her things at the hotel, at the Trump Tower. She needed her belongings back. Okay, and then she said that she just left. She was upset. She got home, and then she called him, and she's complaining again. And Diddy says to her, girl, stop. He's like, girl, stop. Okay, he says, what time are you free tomorrow? Don't say no to me. Okay, and then she says, listen, she tells him, listen, you have made me aware of exactly what you want from me. Okay, she says, once you introduce these girls to this lifestyle, you know, once you introduce these other women that you're messing with behind my back, once you introduce them to this lifestyle, you'll be fine. Like, you don't need me, so stop calling me with this. Go to them, these other women. Do the same thing to them that you're doing to me, basically is what she was saying. Diddy says, I really need you. I'm asking you not to do this. She says, you said you'd call somebody else, so do it. Because at some point, he got upset with her denying him, and he told her, well, you know what, F it, I'll just call somebody else. So she tells him, you said you'd call somebody else, so do it. Stop calling me. So call them, she says. I don't want to be effed and then mistreated, okay, performing loveless cold sex. And then he tells her, your detective skills got your mind going crazy. She says at this point she was frustrated, and she felt that she was under pressure and felt that he gave her, you know, no love and respect that he gave other people that he was dealing with. She says, I'm not a corn star with a P. She says, I'm not a corn star and I'm not an animal. I don't want to do anything. She says, I've hit a wall. And then he's like, let me make love to you. Now he says, let me make love to you, really? After you've had her doing all these things with these different people, some of them nasty, stinky, sweaty, musty, and he's demanding that she perform, even when she's not feeling up to it, even when she's tired, it's all get out or whatever. So now he said, oh yeah, let me make love to you. She says, for 3 years, you've been having me F strangers, okay? He says, so we're breaking up. This is what Diddy said, so we're breaking up. She never said she wanted to break up. She just said that she wanted to stop having sex with other men. And every time she would tell him she didn't want to do those things anymore, he'd always say, oh, so we're breaking up. Because now he has no use for her. So why am I going to still be dealing with you? You're not doing what I want. You're not going to put out so I can sit there and get my rocks off, right? So we might as well just break up. So then she went on to tell him that it was creating a war inside of her. She's getting brain fog because she can't concentrate, she can't sleep at night, she can't focus. And he says, I don't want that for you. This is what Diddy's telling her. I don't want that for you. She says, I just need a break. He says, well, this is my only day off. And she says, you always push me to do more and more. Like it's never enough, no matter what. It's never enough for you. He says, let me make love to you. Okay, let's spend time together. So she says, spend the day with your family or your ex, because I need time to myself. Now at this point, it seems like she's coming to her senses, right? So then she says, can you put something in my account? She's calling him or texting him, asking for money. She's like, can you put something in my account? You're making me feel crazy. Okay, then he says, he ignores that text apparently. Then he texts her the next day and says, how are you doing today? She says, good, and you? And then there's nothing after that. Then the next day he texts her and says, hey, I'm not gonna lie. I'm disappointed in the way things have played out with you. And so she says, make arrangements for your hoes. That's what she tells him. She says, you agreed to match my expenses monthly. Like you did a love contract where you said you were gonna pay my expenses monthly. So she's basically telling him to pay like he weighs, okay? She's like, you said you were gonna match my expenses monthly. So what about the love contract? And then she said after she said that, that's when he threatened her. Okay, that's when he got real nasty and started making threats. So she tells him, leave me alone for real, on God. And she started to voice her frustration about the hotel nights. And then he says, listen, what do you need? Do you need another 3 months in the house? See, that's what he would always go to. That was his thing. Whenever she doesn't want to do something, she's complaining, oh, now, what you need? Another 3 months in the house? Because that's all you're going to get. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to get up out of there because I'm not going to keep paying it. And so then he says, I'm not paying for someone I'm not even with. He tells her that again. This is a common theme. It sounds repetitive, but this is what he would always tell her. Okay, so then she said she felt hurt. And she said, what does the house even have to do with it? I'm not Gina and Cassie. Now, this is where she gets smart with him. She's like, I'm not Gina or Cassie. She said she told him that she's feeling violated and used. And basically, she said, don't play with me. Okay? Don't play with me. She says the energy was anger. Her energy had changed. She said because Cassie and Gina left quietly, and she was letting him know that she's not leaving quietly, okay? I'm going to give you some smoke before I get him out of here. Now, that's when he really got ticked off, because the one thing you don't do is threaten the diddler, okay? So anyway, she says they left quietly, and she says, go take your effing meds. This is what she tells him. Go take your effing meds and watch the it you say to me. You got me effed up. Now, she's talking big and bad to him. Now, can you imagine how pissed off he was? Okay, she says, F you and your fake apology. Okay, and he's like, okay, cool, cool. So then she says, match the 2 years. Don't call me, okay? Don't call me. I'm dead to you, remember? She said the reason she said that when the prosecutor asked her is because he had previously told her that she's dead to him now because she won't do what he wants. Because you can't do these hotel nights. You can't sleep with all these men so I can sit there and watch and choke my chicken. Girl, you're dead to me. Get out of here. I'm not paying any bills. You got to go, okay? She didn't realize that she was a sugar baby. Right. If she doesn't like this customer, block his contract, okay? So anyway, then after she tells him to match the 2 years and she's dead to him, she says he starts threatening the roof over her head, okay? And she said he had been threatening the roof over her head ever since she got there. Now, he would always use the home for leverage. And then he says, okay, I got you. I got you. So then she says, you had me on pins and needles. And then he starts to reference a previous relationship that she had. Okay, and he says, let's just leave each other alone because you effing crazy. People warned me about you. He said, you done went too far. Baby girl, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Okay, we both don't want to do anything. We both don't want to do anything we don't want to do. Okay, so just move on because you took it too far, baby girl. You doing too much, you took it too far. And so then he says, and ain't nobody gonna threaten me. That's what he told her. He said, ain't nobody gonna threaten me. She says, F you. You got me sick. Now, she was referring to this sobriety party that they supposedly had, where he obviously gave her some pills and had her doing stuff. Okay? Then he says, I'll call you when I get out of this. Basically, I guess the stuff with Cassie because the lawsuit had come out. She says, you spoiled a year. You spoiled a year, constantly making me beg for ish. Okay, I heard that evil coming out of you. I don't appreciate you threatening me. Okay, and then it went on from there. She said, and then she tells him, she says, you went from being nice and like it got out of hand. She tells him that she needs a therapist to get this out of her head. She's like, I need a therapist to get this out of my head. She said, it opened up. She said, I opened up to you about some things and about her needing a therapist and all that. And you gave me a fake apology. I started to take back my own control. And I'm just so upset with myself. Now, then Diddy says, you're the one that initiated this. You're the one that picked them. You're the one that reached out to him. And he's talking again about the S workers, Antone and Cabral. So she says, you called me to invalidate my feelings and you take advantage of me. He says, I can't control you. And how do you hate me overnight? Yesterday, you just loved me. This is what Diddy tells her. Now she says things have become a pattern. The same thing is happening over and over again. Then she needs to get a real job or continue with his contract. You all are just so nefarious. Have a good day, beloved. Okay, so then she starts telling him more about how she feels. Okay, for once, she says, for once, I thought you were genuine. And I didn't want to participate. Okay, there's so many texts of my feelings that I've told you that I wanted to stop. And you have numerous videos in your phone of me performing. She said then she sent him this text, and then she saw him in person the next day. When they saw each other, she said that he came over and he said, she told him she was depressed. He said, well, come on over. We'll be depressed together. So then he's still trying to get her to do these hotel nights after all of this. She tells him she wants no part of it. Okay? She's like, 4 in one night, that's crazy. And she says, now I'm going to the doctor. So she's had 4 men in one night, 3 others, including him. And she's like, now I got to go to the doctor. So I don't know why she had to go to the doctor. I guess she might have had one of those UTIs that Cassie was talking about. And then he says, I'll remember you. Okay, so now it's November the 19th of 2023. Now let's not forget that Cassie filed her lawsuit, I think it was November the 16th of 2023. Okay, this is 3 days after Cassie's lawsuit. She says, I'm worked up. She says, I'm worked up because I'm nauseous. I keep hearing this stuff. I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma. This is when she's reading the lawsuit. She says, God finally woke me up out of this sick cycle. I feel so manipulated. And this is clear that it was nothing but a sick sex cycle. You knew this was coming, and you just gaslit me. November 21st of 2023, Diddy calls her early in the morning. Okay, and then he says, now this is after the raids were conducted. No, I'm sorry. No. Okay, she says he calls her in the morning, talking about the stipulation, okay, and talking about that love contract. Now then, March 25th of 2024, that's the day of the raids. So they supposedly confiscated they seized 2 cell phones and a tablet from KK. So then they played this audio recording of Diddy from November. And I guess that must have been in one of the phones or something, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that was in one of the phones that they confiscated. Now they played this recording, and of course they redacted some of it. Anything that made references to her name or who she was, that was redacted. So the prosecutor would ask her, okay, aside from the redacted parts that reference your real name, is this the authentic actual audio? And she would say yes. That was just to state that on the record, that it wasn't altered or edited or anything, to take it out of context or to push a narrative. So they played 2 minutes of the recording, and then they paused it. And in the recording, you heard Diddy say, hello, I'm sorry you feel this way. What you want me to do to make you feel better? I called to check on you. I needed you. My love is definitely true. Diddy's sitting up here trying to run game, okay, after he's dogged this woman out. Now he's talking about my love is true. Because again, he's trying to do damage control. He's trying to make sure that she's not going to do the same thing Cassie has done, which is to file a lawsuit against him and then start exposing him for all the things that he's done. He says, it's some kinky-ish, but I thought we both enjoyed it. I'm just trying to stop all this. I'm just trying to stop all this madness. This is what Diddy said, okay? I'm sorry you feel this way. I'm not supposed to be talking on this phone, though. She says, what I'm hearing online is like word for word, what I'm going through and what I've continued to tell you. And she's referencing, again, Cassie's lawsuit. Now, they pause it, and the prosecutor asked her, what are you talking about when you say word for word? That's when she says, well, I'm talking about Cassie's lawsuit. The stuff that Cassie said in the lawsuit, word for word, is basically what she was feeling. So then they play another 2 minutes of the audio. Okay, then Diddy says, no, she says, on the audio, she says, this is crazy to me. It's sick. I literally just feel sick to my stomach. Because now she realizes she did all of this literally for nothing. Only for him to just dog her out, okay, and just run game on her and have her doing all this stuff, thinking that he really cares for her and they're just fulfilling fantasies or whatever. But it was none of that. It was just her being used and played for a fool. So then he says, this is when I need you to be here for me. You know me. She says, who's there for me when I close my eyes at night? That's what she asked him. So then they pause to ask her, what does she mean by who's there for her when she closes her eyes? And she's talking about, well, when I'm alone by myself and I'm dealing with the trauma of all that I've been through. So then they play 3 more minutes of the audio. She says, I can't take this out of my head. Who's here for me? Diddy says, everything we did mutually. We did it together. You know I can't go back. I'm trying to be there for you. Again, he's recording this. She doesn't know it. So he keeps putting the blame on her. Everything we did together. We did it mutually. He's saying that for the record because he knows he's recording it. And then she says, I'm just effed up. I can't explain it. I'm just effed up. And then, of course, like I said, she had no idea she was being recorded. Now, she said that she heard him writing notes with a Sharpie in the background while they're talking. The prosecutor says, how did you know that he was taking notes and writing something down? She said because that sound was familiar to her. She'd heard him doing it before. When they'd be talking to the phone, she'd hear him taking notes and writing down things with a Sharpie. Now, mind you, when he's doing this before, it wasn't because he was trying to record her or anything like that. But he was probably doing it for business or whatever at other times, but she heard it, so she knew. You know how Sharpie slides across the paper? You can hear this certain particular noise. So that's what she knew he was doing. Okay, so she probably was suspicious, like what the hell is he taking notes about when we're just having an intimate conversation about how I feel effed up because of what he's done. So she goes on to say she heard him taking notes in the background. And then he says, I'm here to help you. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. Just lying, clearly trying to run game. How can I be there for you when I can't even be on the phones? Okay? I can't be on the phones and ish. So, you know what I'm saying? He just keeps saying the same thing over and over. Let's get through this together. Okay, we was just having some kinky fun together. That's all it was, baby girl. We was just having some kinky fun together. This was mutual. We both wanted this. That's all he keeps saying, because like I told you, damage control. He says, I think you need to get some rest because you've been up all night. Haven't you been up all night? She says, yeah, I've been up for days. He says, yeah, me too. She says, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray that you get some sleep. He says, I'll pray for you too. Then he says, call KK if you need me. And then, this is when he goes off. He says, hold up, wait a minute. Are you recording me? Now, I want you all to pay attention to the bull-ish. He knows darn well he's recording this woman, likely taking notes, just like thinks she heard. And then he says, wait a minute, hold up. Now, we hear this on audio. You should hear his voice. He is such an actor. He's like, wait a minute, hold up. Are you recording me? She says, no, I would never do that. He says, this is what I think is best, that you get some rest. And she says, it was just last week. And before she can finish, she says, it was just last week I was telling you, and he cuts her off. Because he doesn't want her to say it on the recording, mind you. She doesn't know it's being recorded, he does. And so when she says, well, it was just last week that I was telling you, he's like, wait a minute, hold up, stop. Baby girl, I can't be talking on this phone. Now he's trying to stop her from saying anything incriminating to him or about him on his recording, where he's trying to shift everything on her. So she says last week when the prosecutor asked her, what were you about to say before he cut you off? What were you about to tell him about last week? She said last week she was opening up to him about the trauma of those hotel nights. Okay, and she had sent him a long text message about her feelings. And this was before Cassie's lawsuit too. And then he says, he said, oh, this is when he really tries to play her. He said, you even bought me a video camera. You even bought me a video camera to record us so we could see what we do. Now he's saying all of this, like making it so that she really is looking like she was totally complicit. I mean, which she was complicit at first. But now he's making it like, you bought me a video so I could record what we were doing so we could both watch it. So like it's equally, you know, them in on it together. You wanted me to record what we were doing. I can't talk on his phone because I don't know what the F is going on. This is all crazy, okay? I'm not laughing at her. I'm laughing at Diddy's ass because Diddy thinks he is so slick, okay? So she said he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to hear it and was very dismissive, okay? In the conversations, he would always overtalk her whenever she said she doesn't want to do these hotel nights, when she said that she's feeling traumatized and needs a therapist or whatever, that is breaking her spirit. He didn't want to hear any of that. He didn't care. He would just be like, okay, listen, let's talk about something else. Listen, don't go there. Stay in the light, okay? Let's not talk about that right now. So he says, he says this again, you bought me a video thing for my birthday. As a friend, I need your support. Now, if you need anything, just call KK, all right? Can you call KK after you get some sleep? Basically, call KK. Don't call me because I ain't trying to hear none of this, okay? Because I already told you this was mutual. We both were down with it. Now you want to sit up here and whine and complain. Girl, I don't have time for this. Cassie already filed a lawsuit. We already had to pay her 20 mil. I don't have time for this. What you trying to do here? We got to stick together. Okay, if we ain't gonna stick together, you need to just keep it pushing. And call KK, don't call me. It's basically what he was saying. Now, he says, I really need your friendship right now. This is November 19th of 2023 at 2:21 p.m. Okay, another text. He says, I really need your friendship right now. Now, she had no idea that he was still recording. Please, don't send me no text. Because he doesn't want any more incriminating evidence. That's what that is. Please, don't send me no text. I really need your friendship. She says, I'm effed up. I'm twisted. He says, you know, you ain't got to worry about nothing, right? You know you ain't got to worry about nothing else, right? So now he's telling her, my silk scarf keeps trying to slide off my head. So he's telling her, you know you ain't got to worry about nothing else, right? Why is he saying that? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Because at this point, he knows that the ish has hit the fan. So now he's letting her know, you don't have to worry about the house payment. I'm going to take care of it. So you know you don't have to worry about that. Because now he wants her silence. He wants to buy her silence. Okay? And then, okay, then he says, I got to go. My mom's walking up on me. He's like trying to get her off the phone. My mom's walking up on me. And then he says, please stop talking about the rooms. Please stop with the rooms. Because she's talking about the hotel nights in the rooms. He doesn't want that on the record. He's trying to get her to shut the hell up about it. So he's saying, please stop talking about the rooms. He's really talking about the hotels and the men. Okay, just tell me. She says, I just got really triggered. She said, I hate to have been through that and been discredited. Okay, she said she was venting to him about her feelings because she had nobody else she could vent to. Because he was the only one who knew what she was going through. Because she never told anybody about the things they were doing, and who would? Who's going to tell their friends and family that they're sleeping with all these different men every night for hours, and this is what the man that they think they're in love with is telling them to do? So she said she had no one to talk to about it but him, and he didn't want to listen. So Diddy asked her, She says it was her shameful secret, okay, that she kept to herself. Diddy says, how should we proceed? This is what he asked her when she keeps complaining. He's like, listen, how should we proceed? She says, I invested and didn't get back what I put in. My heart, my soul, my spirit, you're gaslighting me. Now, she said, you're trying to warp my reality again. When she tried to speak her truth, he would try to make it seem as if it wasn't what she thought. He was gaslighting her, and she said it was working. She said, I don't believe, and then when he starts trying to be nice and say, I love you and all this and that, she's like, listen, you don't have to do all that anymore. I don't believe in this lovey-dovey-ish, okay? I don't believe in this lovey-dovey stuff. For 3 years, I had a dark and shameful reality. So now she don't want to hear that you love her. You know, she doesn't want to hear him saying that he loves her, because now you've done all this stuff for 3 years. And now when you're in trouble, now you want to talk about love. Now you want to talk about togetherness. Now you want to talk about having each other's backs, when she's the one who had his back and she feels he never had hers. She tells him, she says that she wanted monetary compensation at this point for her 3 wasted years. That's what she tells him. She's like, look, I want monetary compensation. Okay, and she started naming prices for different things. And at one point, I think she said something about $450,000. Okay, it was a lot being said and a lot going on. I couldn't write it all down, but she did mention something, if I'm not mistaken, about $450,000. She's never sued him, by the way. She's never sued him. The prosecutor asked her a few times, have you ever sued him? She said no. Have you ever sued anyone? She said no. Do you intend to sue him? She said no. Okay? So that was basically to let the jurors know that she's not doing this for money. She's doing this because she's hurt, she feels used, betrayed, and she's been through trauma. So when she's telling him she wants monetary compensation for the 3 wasted years, he says, charge me. Diddy says, charge me for your resentment. Charge me for it. Just charge me. Now, the prosecution asked her, did you know what he had paid Cassie? She says basically she had read some stuff that Cassie was paid, but she didn't know the exact amount. And so then he says, this is what Diddy tells her. He says, F you. Don't ever call or write me again. Okay? I'm going to block you. I'm calling the police. This idiot told her he's going to call the police. Diddy is insane. Stargate said it's all nefarious, also nefarious. Yes, it is. Now imagine, she's telling him how she feels. He's got her to do all this crazy stuff. Okay? They're morally bankrupt. I agree, beloved, absolutely. He says, F you, don't ever call or write me again. I'm calling the police. And then she says, for 3 years you exploited my love, consumed my life. I missed out on opportunities. And he says, you're an opportunist. This is what he told her. And then he told her, you're an opportunist and you're a con artist. Now imagine that. This is the ramblings. These are the ramblings of a narcissist, of a sociopath. That's what Diddy is. He's trying to tell her that she's a con artist. She's an opportunist, when that's exactly what he is, okay? He conned her into doing what he wanted her to do. And when she would no longer fall for the con game, now he wants to throw her away like a used piece of Kleenex. So then he says to her again, I'm calling the police. Do you want me to call the police? She says, I'm going to delete myself. That's when she's really crying at this point. And she says, she tells him that she was going to take herself out. She says, I just wanted to make everything go back to the way it was. No, she says, I just wanted to make everything go black, like take herself out of here. She says, you're done with me. I hate my life. And she's like, I just wanted to be with you. And so basically, she ended up calling KK. She spoke to KK on the phone and asked her to find the phones and to help her hide it. You know, there's all these videos in the phones. She's asking KK, listen, can you go find those phones and hide them so nobody can get access to them? Because she did not want this stuff getting out. So she said she always would tell him to give those, hold on, KK said she would always tell him to give those things. Oh, KK's telling her that she always would tell Diddy to give those things space. You know, these type of situations that he would end up in. So January of 2024, I had a quiet time and a sense of calm. She went to Vegas. So now at some point, one of these S workers, the guy named Cabral, calls her and tells her that he's got video footage of her. That he's got video footage of her and him. She demands to know, how does he have this footage? Where did he get it from? He lets her know that Diddy recorded it on his phone. How stupid is that? What was Diddy thinking? He says that Diddy recorded it on his phone. Like, I guess he'd been recording on his own phone, and then maybe his phone was going dead, I don't know, he didn't say. But then he got Cabral's phone and supposedly recorded him and her, Cabral and her, on the phone. And Cabral now has it, and now he wants money. Now he's asking for money. Now he's trying to extort her. And she says that's sextortion. Okay, that's what she lets him know. And then she tells Diddy about what this guy's trying to do. And then Diddy's like saying he's going to try to, you know, fix it or whatever. He's trying to act like he's going to, you know, figure it all out or whatever. So she says she called Diddy, and then she called Fahim. Now you all remember Fahim Muhammad, Diddy's chief of security. The one that they claim in Little Rod's lawsuit that could get rid of anyone and anything. So she says, I called Fahim, and she told them, well, the reason she called Fahim and Diddy this particular day is because she said agents, HSI agents, came to her house. Okay? They came to her house, and that's when she got a lawyer. Because when they came to her house, they let her know that Diddy was in fact under investigation. So she says he called her and said that he had a tape. This is when Cabral called her and said he had a tape and that he'd release it on the dark web. Okay, he said it was in his phone. Let me let this ambulance pass, beloveds. Okay, so he said unless she gave him $10,000, he's going to release this tape on the dark web. So I want you all to think about all this different stuff. Queen, is Kim's father in court still? I heard he was there in trial. I don't know. I don't know, beloved. He may have been. I wouldn't know him if I saw him. I'll look up his picture on Google tonight so I can see who he is, but I don't know. I saw Diddy's family there. Now, so she said she went and got a lawyer, and actually Diddy paid for her lawyer. And this is what I thought was interesting. So the prosecutor asked her, who paid for your attorney when you got one? She says Diddy paid for it. The prosecution said, who's still paying for your attorney till this day? She said Diddy is still paying for her attorney. I find that interesting. Now, mind you, at this point, Cabral is demanding this $10,000. He wants to get paid, or else the tapes, the video footage is going on the dark web. And then there was a media company that called her because apparently Cabral had reached out to them. So this media company called her and said that they had the tape and that they were going to release it. She said, the prosecutor asked her, what happened? What did you do when you found out this media company had the tape and was going to release it? She said she fainted. She literally passed out, poor thing. Isn't it awful? She said she passed out, fainted when she heard this. Now, but however, the company never released it. And she doesn't know why, but they just, for whatever reason, never released it. So she says she was in Miami with Sean at the hotel, and the video came out. What video was that? The video of him beating Cassie's arse. Okay, she had hooked up with Diddy. I guess they had made amends for a minute. She goes to this hotel with him in Miami, and that video comes out. So she says they were in the room sleep. One of Diddy's sons came and knocked on the door, and they let him know that something had just happened, and it wasn't good. So she checks her phone, and that's when she saw the video of him assaulting Cassie. That was a side of him that she had never seen. She said she was about to eat breakfast before that happens, and she completely lost her appetite. She said she was just, she was just frustrated. She said and then she was by herself while Diddy was with his family. They were consoling him, but nobody's consoling her, basically. And then the prosecutor asked her, did he deny that it was him in the video? She says no. She says that he showed her the final draft of his little fake apology that he gave Cassie. Now, when he had the first draft of the apology, he was naming Cassie specifically, giving a specific apology to Cassie. But then, when she saw the real video, the final video, he didn't say Cassie's name. So she said to her that was a fake apology because he didn't address Cassie specifically. Now, at that point, they called for a sidebar. His lead attorney, Mark Agnifilo, well, this isn't a sidebar. This is basically when everybody went to break. I stayed in there, and Mark Agnifilo is telling the judge that this part of the testimony should not be allowed. This should be stricken from the record because she's saying that, hold on. She's saying that she saw the video of Cassie and he didn't deny that it was him, but she didn't like the apology because he didn't name Cassie specifically. So Mark Agnifilo said that's basically privileged information because he says he's the one that told Diddy not to name Cassie because he felt like Cassie was going to be a witness for the grand jury. And if she's going to be a witness for the grand jury against him, then he said it's a bad idea for him to name her specifically when he's issuing this apology. And so he wanted that stricken from the record. There was a back and forth about that for a minute or two, but once the jurors came back in because they had gone to break, that's when the judge told them to strike that part of her testimony from the record. I mean, but at the end of the day, they already heard it. You can't unring the bell. So, then she met with Diddy later, and this is the part where they played the apology video in court. Okay, they played that, and they asked her how did she feel when this all came out. She said she felt disappointed, and she didn't think that the apology was genuine. But now the judge, however, even though Mark Agnifilo was saying it was privileged information and that shouldn't have been brought up, the judge says that it's relevant to the witness's state of mind pertaining to a later incident. So now mind you, I was about to leave because I'm thinking a lot of this stuff she's already said and she's going to keep saying the same thing over and over. And I also told you guys that there was never any violence. She never spoke of any violence. But there was violence. When I knew there was violence is when the judge said, it's relevant to the witness's state of mind pertaining to a later incident. And I'm like, wait a minute, what later incident? And why would the video of Cassie being assaulted by Diddy be relevant to her state of mind? I said, he must have beat her too. Okay, thank you. And he did. Listen, guys, they're throwing us out of here. They're closing the barricades. I gotta go. But basically, he beat the crap out of her, okay? I'll do another video when I get home to give you all the rest of the information, all right? So listen, love you all to life. You all make sure you tune in to get the rest of it so I can tell you all how he beat this poor woman. At the end of the day, it's all nefarious, okay? Love you all. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives.